We are just a couple hours away from the major portion of the college football weekend starting. Virginia Tech and Syracuse on a Thursday night. We are just hours away from football on the field, and we've had it for the last couple nights, of course, with the group of 5 games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But even with us just being 4 or 5 days away from the first release of the college football playoff rankings and a week 9 straight ahead after a exciting week 8, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? This is something else. Is it not? Is it not something else? Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We love to talk with all of you about the game we all love each and every day with you. Love the game on the field. These shenanigans I can do without. But they are interesting. They are intriguing to a certain extent. But man, all I want to know is the truth. The truth. That's all I want to know is the truth. Somebody cheats, I want them held accountable. If multiple teams are cheating, hold them all accountable. If everyone's cheating and the rules are bad, then change the rules. Whatever it is, let's get it sorted out. And hopefully that is the result. Hopefully that's the result. Hopefully, whatever the conclusion to all of this is that we all know the truth. And it was done for not the infraction, the allegation, but the investigation was done well and thoroughly and was done for the right reasons and was come to the proper conclusion. Let's all hope that. I don't want anyone to cheat myself. That's my own personal stance on all of this. I don't buy the excuse that everybody cheats. And if everybody does cheat, then again, we should clean house or we should change the rules. I have here a lot of notes that I've taken concerning a lot of sources that I've referenced here in the last couple hours in looking at this. And a lot of information, of course, has been released here in the last 24 hours as this story continues to unfold. And we've got facts. We've got those things that have been reported as facts. And then we have a lot of speculation. Some of it's reasonable, some of it's not, that we can draw from the facts. And then we have this other category of, okay, what do we do with all of this? If this happened, then what? What should be the conclusion to all this? What is a proper penalty? Because at this point, while a few days ago, and we've gone live on this ever since it broke, I believe on Monday. So here we are. I believe that was on Monday. I lose track of the days. Now we're in day 4 of this. Is that right? I don't remember this going back to last week. I think it was, maybe it did. Regardless, when it first broke, obviously, we hit the live stream and talked to all of you about this. And at that point, it was a lot of, well, if it happened. Well, we know at this point, it did happen to some degree. All right. So let's go through some of the notes I've taken in regards to, I have accessed all the main sources. So let's give credit and certainly name all the sources, Yahoo Sports, CBS Sports, ESPN, all the standard places, and many of which I accessed, and they just repeated what the other ones said. Tried to delve a little bit deeper and came up with one interesting nugget, and I don't expect any of this to be anything new to most of you. Many of you have dived into this situation and into these allegations and the various rules much better than I have. I went live a little bit earlier today, the SEC live show. Please check it out. We got Brent Baird from First Coast News on, and we talked about the SEC. But of course, we talked about this as well, because this is at the epicenter of the college football universe right now. What Michigan did, what they possibly did, what might still be yet to come, how serious it is, and what the outcome should be. All of that was discussed. The connection with the SEC, of course, is with Michigan being a college football playoff team over the last 2 years and now going into 3 seasons, that Michigan and Connor Stalions, who has become infamous now. If you want to become famous in this world, do something either illegal or stupid. Or in this case, neither illegal, well, possibly stupid, not illegal, but against NCAA guidelines in his industry. And we'll get a little bit further into his background. But yes, Connor Stalions, who I've yet to reach out to on Twitter. I meant to do that as soon as we got done. When was it? Yesterday. Just to take a shot in the dark. Just to take a shot in the dark. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got Connor Stalions on here? Of course, that's not going to happen, but might as well take a shot. Shoot, we contact anybody on Twitter, X. But again, the connection with the SEC was with Michigan being a college football playoff team in 21 and 22. Then this now extends outside the realm of the Big Ten. How about that? And it goes to tickets that were purchased. And what are we going to call these? We're going to call these colleagues. We're going to call them agents, scouts of sort, maybe amateur scouts that went to the SEC championship game. Also went to, I believe the number was 4 playoff contenders from those 2 seasons and went to scout their games prior to the playoffs. So that was the SEC connection. We talked to Brent Beard about that. All right, so this is what we know at this point, and a whole lot beyond this, but let's hit on these main points. And I'm not going to go all the way back to the origin of the story or the origin of the groundwork. I think everybody here knows Connor Stalions, Michigan staff, how much money he makes per year, that doesn't add up in regards to him going out himself and purchasing tickets. However, people can make money in all sorts of ways. So you can't directly tie his salary of $55,000 in with his ability to purchase all these tickets that would cost thousands and thousands of dollars, transportation, and so forth, because people can earn money in all sorts of different ways. Former Naval Academy officer, or was in the Navy. I don't know at what rank. 28 years old currently. And the paper trail is what's insane here. So this is one aspect of it, is the paper trail leading me to believe, okay, unless at one of the higher academic schools in the country, one of the higher public academic schools in the country, that somebody would be, and the coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh himself would be that incredibly stupid to allow this to go on with the paper trail included. I can't imagine that. But we've seen it down through history in regards to crimes being committed. And this, again, not a crime legally, a crime against the rules of the game and the institutions that oversee the game, that criminals are many times just stupid. They have a brilliant side, but then they miss this side over here. So in a lot of ways, Connor Stalions, in reading a little bit more about him, is possibly proving to be just stupid in this regard, but brilliant in this regard, and then just a complete whack job psycho in some regards. Although I'm not going to judge how people spend their time if it's not illegal or unethical or immoral in any way. But wow, when you get into this Michigan Manifesto and the length of that and the focus and the energy that it took for him to undertake such a thing, wow, we're dealing with a guy that, depending on if you're on the positive side of this or the negative side of this, really invested a lot of time and effort into helping the Michigan football cause. First, as a guy who was acting on his own, just going to games, traveling all over the place, chasing down the football team and watching the team play, and then making his connections and working to make those contacts, and did a great job of it. And then boom, he presents to them all the things that he can do in terms of his background and experience in being able to decipher such things as he was able to do with the sign stealing, which again, sign stealing in and of itself, nothing wrong about that, nothing against the rules. And then he worked his way into a paid position on the staff. But man, he wants to be the head coach at the University of Michigan someday. Well, I think he's probably worked himself out of being a candidate at any time soon. Leave your comments and questions. We'll get to them. Keep in mind that we keep going based on a number of things. You can buy the merch that we've got. We've got, of course, the Super Chat contributions. You can hit me up at Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. We also have Patreon, and we've got a YouTube membership here on the main channel. And what you get is you get Steve Merrill's under the radar selection each week, 17-4 against the spread. And you also get my predictions. They're pretty darn good too. Usually we aim for 60% against the spread, and I'm just under it this season. Had a rough week last week, 8-8. All right. So just to finish on these points, and we'll take our first call. So tickets bought to the Big Ten games, 35 games in all, including, yes, those 2 SEC championship games, and then the games of some playoff contenders. And I'll get to an interesting side note involving one of those games here in a second. So the issues in regards to the bylaws of the NCAA involve electronic equipment and obviously people showing up that are connected to the football team that are attending games of future opponents. There was one particular, and this may be multiple times. So we're just finding out certain things that what is currently known by the NCAA is probably vast compared to what we know. By the time it goes from the NCAA and is either reported, leaked, whatever it is, to the many insiders that are reporting on this and other people, not just the insiders, but in this day and age of the way people can contact with one another, all sorts of just rogue people out there that can find things out. So surveillance cameras caught at least one person in the crowd, obviously using an electronic device. I would like to see if that has been verified to just be a iPhone, cell phone that can take pictures, because everybody's got that in their hands. But whether there was an actual something beyond that, something more elaborate, that I've not been able to find out. If somebody's got some information on that, are we just talking about a cell phone? Are we talking about something more elaborate? The Washington Post, of course, came out with a lot of information and so forth, that they were the first ones, I believe, to report about the outside law firm that went through the NCAA. So we can be pretty confident that there was no reason for anybody outside, like a law firm, to do this investigation itself or bring this evidence to get to light itself. Of course, they were hired. So we're looking at 13 other Big Ten schools. 12 of them are schools in which the Michigan Wolverines, their team, Connor Stalions and his cohorts, attended the games. So the Washington Post just confirms that, hey, there was a law firm that went directly to the NCAA with this documentation and the evidence, and they were able to access multiple Michigan coaches and their computer drives. Well, we knew that Connor Stalions had voluntarily turned over his computer or the drives due to this firm, or to the NCAA, eventually to the NCAA. But according to the Washington Post, multiple Michigan coaches. So I don't know if those are on the same level, analyst level, as Connor Stalions, or we're talking about position coaches. We're talking about coordinators. I don't know. For as much as I would like to have this all out and done and cleaned up tomorrow, I think this is lasting through the season. I think this is going to last through the season, take us into the off season. This is going to be for quite some time, I believe. I know that we had a discussion on our Ohio State show. So also check out the other shows we've done here with the Michigan show on Tuesdays with John Diadamo, especially the conversation we had with the Ohio State guys on Wednesday on the Buckeye show. Steve Dace, of course, on the Big Ten Live show that we did on Monday. And I think there was another one. We went live at another time to talk about all of this. So we've gone live. I think this would be the 5th time that we've gone live concerning this topic. So as much as I would like to talk about week 9 in college football, and we can do that as well, this is what people are talking about, and this is a big deal. This is a big deal for as much as some people want to push it aside and say, it's not a big deal, number one, because it doesn't give Michigan much of an advantage, or the other teams that might be participating as well. Let's not discount that. You only cheat for one reason. There's only one reason to cheat. Nobody can talk me out of this point. There is only one reason to cheat. I'm not even going to fill in the blank. All right. Jim Harbaugh has come out with a statement denying that he knows anything about this, and he has pledged his cooperation. So he says he is not linked to any of this, or says that he's completely unaware of it, denies it. Nothing thus far based on my reading. And again, all of you guys, based on your connections and sources and reading maybe more than I have or in different places than me, let me know if there's anything out there that connects Harbaugh, because at this point, nothing is linking Harbaugh to this directly other than what could eventually become the obvious. Coaches on his staff have this information, goes right to them. Well, this is where the rubber hits the road. If Jim Harbaugh has denied awareness, certainly has denied intent, but I believe has denied any type of awareness, because he would be responsible regardless of whether he's aware or not, because there are 2 levels to this. There is institutional control, lack thereof, by him. If his analysts and coaches are acting in a rogue fashion, well, there are still going to be penalties to pay. But if it can be proven that he's involved, then that raises the stakes and the penalties considerably. So he says he's not linked. However, the video at last year's Ohio State game, and I don't know if this has been shown in other games, I don't know. I just know the one probably most popular picture and piece of video out there shows the Michigan assistant coaches, the coordinators, right next to Stalions and him. Now, for as many college football sidelines as I've been on in my life, it has been a while since I've been on the sideline of a game. Maybe I need to do that maybe sometime next season. But in the 90s and 2000s, when I was on college football sidelines, and we're talking about it, major games, I didn't take much note of analysts being on the sideline and how much involvement. They're not allowed to coach the players, so why would they be on the sideline? I always thought they were up in the booth generally, but who knows? They're obviously allowed on the sideline. The Big Ten's in a tough spot. Think about where the Big Ten stands on this. They don't want to go into a postseason in which they could have their champion later suspended and the games vacated. But they also, I don't think, want to pull the plug on this. This is their one of 2 staple landmark programs. So the Big Ten has a difficult decision to make, possibly, because again, I don't expect anything to get done before the end of the season. I think this is dragging into the off season, even though a lot of information is coming out every day or 2. Okay, then we've got the text messages acquired by Sports Illustrated going all the way back to 2018, with Stalions bragging about all this information and that he's just the greatest sign stealer and he's been able to acquire all this sign stealing and done all of this. And then there's this manifesto that, shoot, I would not want to read. As soon as I read manifesto and saw the length of this, like 550 pages, I just thought one name in history came to mind. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to say it, but he certainly wrote a bit of a manifesto himself. So there's some obsession there. 550 pages. Good Lord. Now, did he act in a rogue manner? As of right now, but he's talking to coordinators, and there are multiple Michigan coaches who have had their hard drives seized by or voluntarily turned over to the NCAA. And then we've got two other aspects I'll take on here real quick before we get to the phone lines. And please give me a call. Give me your thoughts, comments, questions, whatever you got. But we've got this, and I read this on Outkick. So there's a message board connected to Tennessee football, VolQuest. And so, of course, Tennessee had a good year last year, finished 10-2. Before they lost their second game, that Stalions had tickets. I don't know if they ended up using those. No, I think, I don't remember if the Kentucky game was before the South Carolina game. But they used the tickets to go to a Tennessee game, one of Stalions' minions. And under the account of Arnie Palmer Alert, this is a year ago that this particular individual, because he knew people connected with Stalions, or maybe knew Stalions himself, was pointing this out on a Tennessee message board to say, there is somebody here from Michigan and they are scouting Tennessee and stealing signs. That was on a Tennessee message board a year ago. And then finally, it's Jim Harbaugh and the ramifications of his coaching career. And then if this is going to be the final straw that's going to move him out of the NFL, either voluntarily or it's going to force him to the NFL. That's a possibility. And Michigan's number 2 ranked right now in the flawed AP rankings. And they're undefeated and have the week off. All right. Please give me a call here at the Voice of College Football. We'll go through your comments and questions. We got a call coming in from Buckeye Mike. Buckeye Mike, what's going on?
Oh, not much, Mark. Just trying to properly wrap my head around everything and look at it from a non-biased perspective.
Yes.
Because that's where a lot of mistakes are made as far as prejudgment. I completely agree with pretty much everything you said. My biggest thing is, everybody likes to talk about, well, Ohio State changed their signs. Well, they didn't change all of their signs. They changed some of their signs because there's only so much you can change within that amount of time. And honestly, they were just the better team at the end of the day, and they beat us. And I mean, yes, it's a perspective and an aspect of what you have to look at of when and how or what and who they stole and everything. But I just think that a lot of this is at least a little overblown right now because we don't fully know everything. And like I think you mentioned, we have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt right now and at best come to our own conclusions.
Well, I think we need to let the investigation play out, but for those things that have been released, we can come to some kind of conclusions that it appears as though Michigan has broken the rules to some degree.
Yes.
I don't really see any way around at least getting to that step, because they have somebody on staff, and that's listed right in the bylaws of the NCAA. And then that staff member arranged for people to go and scout other teams that are on Michigan's schedule and using electronic devices. So when you line all those things up, those are breaking the rules.
Absolutely. And I mean, as you stated and Thamels stated and Saban stated, there are ways to do this legally and there are ways to do it illegally.
Yes.
And yes, if you are on the sideline and can figure out the other team's signs throughout the game, then yeah, you're stealing them legally.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Nothing
I
wrong with
mean,
that.
yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as it's legally. It's like you've been saying, it's an issue when it comes to illegally.
And
And
even the illegal stealing of the signs,
mhm,
I'm not condoning it in any way. But at
mhm,
one point, it was legal before 1994. And the reason it's illegal, and when we say illegal, that's not even a proper term. It's not a legal matter. It's there are rules to be broken. Just like any company has rules that have nothing to do with the outside world and laws. They have to do with rules within a company. And if you're going to work within the company, and in this
mhm,
case, work within college football, then you have to abide by the rules. And before 1994, it was okay to do this. But since then, it has not been. So there would be nothing morally or ethically wrong with it if there wasn't a rule there. But everybody's to abide by the rules and play under the same rules.
mhm.
And until further notice, we don't know if anybody else is out there doing this. Now, some people have called me naive to say, well, Mark, other people are doing this and it's being done all over the place. Okay, well, let's see the
Oh,
evidence of it.
that yeah, exactly. Because that's what I hear too. Is well, everybody does it. Well, everybody may do it, but as of right now, until proven otherwise, they're doing it within the confines of the rules. They're doing it legally, and it's okay.
Yeah, and let's understand that if this rule's been in place 29 years and we have never heard of a scandal, there's never been anything uncovered involving other teams doing this,
Mm-hmm.
then until I am brought evidence that other teams are doing it, I'm going to assume nobody else is doing it. But I'm not going to be naive to say that there's no way that anybody else is doing it.
Oh, absolutely, me either.
Either one.
Because yeah, and I just kind of skimmed over an article today. It said that the whistleblower happened to be on the investigations board and is a Michigan alum. I don't know if you've heard anything about
Yeah.
that.
So is this
I forget what article, like who wrote it and stuff, but I remember seeing it.
I heard that as well. So I listened to two different podcasts today. And as you guys may have picked up, I typically don't listen to anybody's podcast because I don't want to be swayed by their football take. So is one reason. But concerning this, I just thought, jumping in the shower and getting ready for live stream earlier today. And one was with Tony Gerdeman and Buckeye Huddle. So I listened to most of that. I didn't sit there and like listen to everything they said and take notes or anything. I just listened to it. So I want to clearly reference that. And then also
Mm.
our buddy Isaiah Hole with Locked On Wolverines. And so I listened to his spiel. And again, I'm not really taking much from it, except for I think Isaiah touched on what you're hitting on right now.
Yeah, like I said, I would look it up, see if I could find it again, but I'm on my phone. But I remember seeing that, and I'm just like, well, to a degree, I don't know how serious you would take it, but to a degree, you would think if an alumni is coming forward about this, that there's got to be some seriousness. And some truth to it.
Yeah, and I believe what what I heard on that podcast was involving. There it is. So we got Big Ten Media says John Yu. Don't know who that is. Anyway,
Oh
John
yeah.
Yu Bacon said it is Jim Stapleton. Yes, that's the name I heard. Is Jim Stapleton. And so that is the individual who apparently.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, I'm surprised you don't know who John U. Bacon is. He's the Michigan historian, just like Tim Park for Ohio State.
Oh, okay. I guess I've heard that name now that you say that, but yeah, I tell you, I'm going to credit so many people out there for some of the things that they take in when it comes to reading and all these other things, because I just don't have the time for it. What can I say? I don't. Yeah, Jack Park, uh, David Greenshield just mentioned in the chat as well. Now, Jack Park, I've read a few of his books, but it's been 30 years since I've read his books. I just don't have time to be. I don't read anything in the football world or in the sports world. When I get a chance to read, I'm reading more important things. So I don't get into those things. So yeah, I don't know who that is. But yeah, the name is vaguely familiar.
Yeah, and I mean, I would consider both of us realistically not non-biased as possible Ohio State fans, right?
I do my best. If this was Ohio State, I don't see how I would be talking about it any differently.
Me either. And see, the thing is, do you feel, I'm going to use their terms, do you feel butthurt over the last 2 wins from Michigan? Because I don't. And that has, to me, that has nothing to do with this.
Well, I
You
don't like that Ohio State
know,
lost those games. Of course, I don't like them losing any games, but especially to Michigan. So, uh, but I would say that if Michigan, so I will say, based
mhm,
on my perspective, I would not be in either camp. Meaning, if I'm the Ohio State fan, I'm not going to say, "Well, we lost because they cheated and they knew our signals." I wouldn't say
exactly.
that. I would also, though, as a Michigan fan, not say it didn't matter. We didn't need it. Let's say this all turns out to be true, and it's um, it's proven, all of it at some
Mhm,
level, and there was sign stealing. And again, not sign stealing on the day of the game, sign stealing with the advanced scouting. That's against the rules. Shouldn't have been done. That I don't think as a Michigan fan you can claim, well, it didn't matter. We didn't need it. Well, that's a bunch of BS too, because nobody cheats unless they think they need to cheat. That's the only reason you cheat. Like, you can't get around this. We're too good and we didn't need to do that. And why would we need to cheat against that team and this team and that team? Well, don't do it. Now, again, if he was acting on his own, that's
mhm.
a completely different deal. And then it's going to be a slap on the wrist, and it's going to be, you should rein your guy in, and he's running amok all over the place, and he's acting rogue, and you don't have any control over institutional control to know what your to know what your employees are up to. That's a different deal. But I don't care if Michigan won every game 100-0 if they're then cheating. And again, doesn't matter if it's Michigan, Ohio State. I'd be saying the exact same thing against Ohio State. Um,
Yes.
if I was playing my 8-year-old when my son was 8 years old in a pickup basketball game, I had no trouble beating him. But if I cheated just to make sure, well, I'm still cheating.
Yes,
It's only
cheating is
one
cheating.
reason to cheat. It's to ensure that you're going to win, to give yourself an advantage to win. Therefore, there's some level of fear that you're going to lose. Therefore, that's why you cheat.
Exactly. To kind of shift gears, because I'm sure you're starting to get a line. Since it's Thursday, let's just talk about Ohio State.
Sure, let's talk some football.
So the consensus from what I've gathered around from what I've been, it's been a busy week, so I've limited on what I've taken in. But from what I've gathered this week is if Ohio State wins on Saturday, do not be surprised if they're the number one team on the CFP rankings next week. And right now it looks like there is realistically 5 teams because Ohio State, Michigan play each other. So one of them's got to lose. Looks like there are 5 teams that have the potential to make the playoffs, and they could all be undefeated. They could. So who do you think gets left out?
Well, let me restate what you just said because I understand what you mean, but you didn't state it. There are more than 5 teams capable of
Yes.
making the playoff. You mean that
Yeah.
there are, with Ohio State and Michigan knocking one another off, there's going to be somebody with a loss. There's a potential to have 5 conference champions with 0 losses.
Yes.
Yes. Well, as it stands right now, let's say it doesn't matter in the Big Ten, and then you only have Florida State, Georgia, Oklahoma, and a team in the Pac-12. It would have to be, what do we got left? Washington. Are they the only one? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Washington. So Oklahoma would have the worst resume.
Ooh.
The Big 12 is just a mess right now. It's not that good. They're not going to have that many good wins, and they're going to defeat Texas twice, which is great, but maybe without Quinn Ewers, they're going to have the weakest resume.
So you think theirs would be even weaker than Georgia?
Georgia is going to have wins over Tennessee. So we could reasonably come to a conclusion that out of Tennessee, Kentucky, and Florida, that those teams are going to be in the 8-4, 7-5 range. So they're going to have like 3 wins over 8-4, 7-5 kind of teams. And I think Georgia's other non-division game is Ole Miss. So that's a nice win. Ole Miss will probably be more in the 9-3 range. And they'll have an SEC championship game over Alabama, let's say. Alabama, LSU, the winner of that game, most likely. So, yes, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Florida is better than Texas twice, and Oklahoma doesn't even play Kansas State. Right now, they're the 3rd best team in the conference. And they played nobody non-conference.
Right.
Just like Georgia didn't either.
Right. So if everything plays out that way and you have those 5 teams, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State, and then everybody else go undefeated.
Yeah.
What's your 1 through 4 Final Four look like right now? I know that's like a far look ahead, but I just
Well, it's a far look ahead, but it's pretty clear cut just because you're giving me a scenario in which they all win all their games. So it's just based on resume for me. Now, there's a certain aspect of it we don't know, which is how impressive are they going to be in these wins. But I would say that Washington will probably have the best resume. And then the Ohio State Michigan winner. And then probably really have to look at Florida State versus Georgia. Florida State's going to have a win over LSU. They're going to have a championship game win over Duke, Louisville, somebody like that. Clemson's probably going to be like a 7-5, 8-4 team. And then that's pretty much it for Florida State. a win over Florida, who's going to be about 7-5. So I would rank the teams Washington 1.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not based on how impressive they are, just looking at the wins and losses and the resumes, just based on wins and losses. Washington 1, the Big Ten winner 2, Georgia 3, and Florida State 4.
Ooh.
And it's close though.
Yeah, it seems to me like it's almost like a battle for the 3 instead of usually coming down to a battle for the 4. And that's just if everything plays out that way.
And of course, 2 and 3 don't matter. And of course, Ohio State would have an advantage over Michigan because they played Wisconsin outside the division, who's probably going to be the best team out of that division, plus Notre Dame.
Do you think with the win over Navy and Wyoming that Air Force is likely to be your group of 5, quote unquote, champion? Like it gets the group of 5 spot?
Well, yeah, it looks like it right now. We'd have to look at Air Force's schedule the rest of the way. But right now we just have Air Force. And of course, James Madison's ineligible.
Which
I hope
stinks.
it's Air Force. I'm rooting for Air Force.
That'd be awesome. Finally get a military school in year 6. And then I think I'm jumping ahead a week or two, but do you think that LSU Alabama could look similar to last year, like the importance?
Well, it's going to be awfully important. The winner of the game is most likely going to go to the SEC championship game.
And then, so do you think that, well, because LSU has more than one loss, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. So if Alabama wins, then they really do have an outside shot at the playoff, don't they?
LSU. Sure they do. They have an outside shot.
I mean, Alabama. My bad.
Oh, Alabama's got more than an outside shot. If they win the SEC?
Yeah, if they win the SEC, then yeah, they would have a really good shot.
Yeah.
I would assume.
They're going to the playoff if they win the SEC.
And then trying to think.
And this doesn't even take into account the whole Ohio State, Michigan, and if Penn State somehow beats Michigan, what that could look like. There could be 3 candidates out of one division, of course.
And then, so if somehow miraculously Colorado beats UCLA, do you see a path of Colorado getting to 6-6?
I'm trying to remember their schedule off the top of my head. I know it's extremely difficult. We've looked at it before, but well, if they beat UCLA, that's going to get them to 5-3. And then they just need one other win, and they've got Arizona, and they've got one other game, like a Washington State, that's a winnable game.
So if they beat UCLA, there's a chance for it to be there to get to 6.
Sure, if they're good enough to beat UCLA, but that's saying something. Let's see. Colorado's sitting at 4-3. Their 5 games left are UCLA on the road, Oregon State at home, Arizona at home, at Washington State, Utah. I'd say they've got a less than 50-50 shot of winning 2 of those games. But they've got a good shot, but not 50-50. That the Stanford loss
really hurt them.
May prove to be a difficult one because all these teams, they might be a slight favorite against Arizona at home. Otherwise, they're going to be a decent underdog. I don't know what the point spread is at UCLA this weekend. I got to think they're about a touchdown underdog. We'll see here in a second. Oh, 17.5.
Ooh, gosh.
Yeah, as soon as I said 7, I thought, okay, that's a little light, but there you go. All
So,
right. Yeah,
one of
one
the
more.
last, yeah, one of the last things I wanted to ask you about was what is going on with Arizona? Because one week they'll take USC to the wire and probably win if they don't call a bonehead 2-point play, and another week they're like getting blown out. Like I don't, the wins aren't producing where they should be. I feel like.
Well, I would say that if anything, they are getting better and better and better. So it's not like they're high one week and then down the next week and back and forth. They've been getting better and better and better and better. If you look at recent weeks,
Mhm.
you've got before they took USC to the wire, they had a really nice effort against Washington. Maybe it wasn't quite as close as 31-24 one score game, but they played Washington well, a top 5 team in the country. Then they of course could have beaten USC. Then they just crushed Washington State last week. They have played 3 really good games in a row.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I feel like they should have come out like 2-1 or something. Like I feel like they should have beaten USC. It just drives me crazy. Anyway, everybody out there, don't forget to sub to all the channels. Nice chatting with you, Mark. I'll hop back into the comments section and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Buckeye Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
We will keep it moving here. The voice of college football. Ralph believes that UNLV is the best group of 5. I have not seen UNLV play this year. They, of course, lost to Michigan. Yes, they are 6-1, 3-0. Man, it's hard to believe that they could possibly be the best group of 5. Now their record looks good, but they have not played anybody any good. Good Lord, that schedule's awful. Now they do have Fresno State coming up this weekend. Fresno State's coming in at 6-1 themselves. So that's a heck of a game to look out for. Late Saturday night, Fresno State hosting UNLV. Then they got New Mexico, Wyoming, Air Force. There we go. November 18th, UNLV and Air Force. So if they get by Fresno State, there's going to be a heck of a ball game for most likely the Mountain West Conference regular season title. Okay. I know there's not a regular season title. It's not like basketball, but the number 1 seed in the conference championship game. Bumper Sauce joining us. What's going on?
Mark, the Michigan situation is pretty confusing to me. What have I missed in the last 24 hours? Anything new?
Well, I could only list off for you a bunch of things that have come down, and you could tell me if you.
Well, the latest I heard was that they were able to trace ticket purchases back. Connor Stallion. Is that the latest?
I don't know if that's the latest.
They were waiting on to see if they could get surveillance footage from the stands of the stadiums that he purchased tickets to see if people were videotaping the sidelines. If that ever happened.
And in all the articles that I reviewed and everything I could possibly find, there was one incident of a surveillance camera that came up with someone in the seat that was purchased that had, again, electronic device. I wish they would be more precise in these articles. Are we talking about an iPhone? Are we talking about actual electronic equipment beyond that would be more effective? But so there was one cited out of all the stuff that I looked at.
Well, with as dumb as all these other decisions have been, maybe they set up a tripod and they'll make it really easy to find out sideline or not. But it's definitely not a good look. And this is. I mean, could Michigan have to vacate any wins? Over this, you think?
I didn't think so at first, but see, the punishment should fit the crime. And vacated wins are so annoying because we all watch the games and all of that business. And we've got a number of examples throughout history where wins have been vacated, and especially if they result in a championship. If they don't result in a championship, then you're taking wins away from players that had nothing to do with the situation and so forth. And this has happened again through history. And then what do you do? How do you replace a championship for a game that was not played in that way? But that is the punishment that fits the crime, because the crime is to cheat to win games.
Right. Well, I guess it's fortunate for Michigan that they haven't been able to do anything in the playoffs the last 2 years, because at least they're not going to have to vacate any national championships. So there's a silver lining there. And but it's still not a good look, because for the Big Ten overall, because Michigan has been the Big Ten champion for the last 2 years. So it makes the conference overall, put questions on those past championships. So do you think there's any way that Tony Petitti can maybe shift the blame to someone else, like Mel Tucker or something like that, and just try to get, Michigan off the hook?
What is your angle on this? Are we speaking from a Michigan fan's perspective?
No, I just wanted to troll Mel Tucker and Tony Petitti a little bit, because this is another black eye for the Big Ten, and it's funny to me.
It is, and guess we've had conference championships vacated in the past. We typically, though, have teams that are ineligible then win the conference, or like we did with Ohio State and Penn State in 2012. They just, though we're already aware of their discretions, therefore they couldn't play in the Big Ten championship game, so that was taken care of beforehand. But here we've got a situation where you got to go back in time, and that's impossible.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all I had to say, Mark. But about the Michigan. But if you've got time, we could talk about Week 9.
Sure.
Do you give Florida any shot to beat Georgia this weekend at all?
I do. I give them some shot, because we did see South Carolina and we did see Auburn. Those are two games that Georgia struggled. The Kentucky game leads me to believe, though, that maybe Georgia figured some things out, because Kentucky's right on that level as well, and Georgia was not playing well against the two teams that had any pulse in the conference, and then they suddenly snapped to it when people started to talk down on them. And there were a lot of people out there that predicted a Kentucky upset, or that they would hang, and then Georgia wiped them off the field. And really, the effort against Vandy, we can't draw too much from that. They just kind of took care of business. However, then you got this Brock Bowers situation, which I wouldn't normally, even with excellent tight ends, be bringing that up as a major factor, but he sometimes is the central focus of that offense. Like, he's the guy that
more importantly, he's the central focus of the opposing defense.
Yeah, he takes a lot off of other targets on the field. He's that good. He's one of the best players in the sport, so they're missing a lot there.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting matchup of the weekend to me. I think there's only one ranked on ranked game this weekend, and I don't even remember who that is. It's in the Pac-12, I think. I don't remember. Or maybe I can't remember. But yeah, I think the Florida-Georgia game is going to be interesting. I think Georgia's going to win and cover, but I think that is going to have more to do with the fact that Kirby Smart is having 2 weeks to prepare. I mean, Florida's got a week off as well, but the Brock Bowers injury mitigation with having an extra week to prepare for Kirby Smart and his staff, I think is going to be okay. And I definitely think the Brock Bowers injury is baked into the spread. which is either 14 or 14 and a half right now. And I think that's probably not going to end up being as big of an issue as some people think. I mean, obviously he's the best player on Georgia's team. Carson Beck is good too, but Brock Bowers is a freak athlete. So, but I honestly think, I mean, Florida was a pick'em against a 2-5 South Carolina team last week. I just don't think they're very good, but we'll see. And I hope it's not. I'm sure there's going to be some surprising good games, but from the outside looking in right now, before we play them, I don't think it's going to live up to week 8 or what we got to look forward to in week 10. But anyway, that's all I got, Mark. I hope you have a good evening.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call. I would tend to agree with Bumper Sauce. I'm not, I'm going to be excited to watch college football on a Saturday, as I always am. The game that he's talking about is the ranked matchup between Oregon and Utah. That, of course, huge with the Utes coming off a big win over USC. At noon, there's usually 4 or 5 games I want to see. And there is basically, not that I would watch any college football game. So let's get that set. But there's really one game at noon that I'd really like to see, and that's Oklahoma-Kansas. I think that's going to be the best game, best matchup at noon. Then there's a bunch of Texas A&M and South Carolina. SEC talent, I'll watch the game, but it doesn't mean anything. They're both out of it. Kansas State and Houston. Kansas State's still playing for something. They're at home. They should be safe in that one. Shoot. The CW game, that Clemson NC State game at 2. Woo! Clemson has fallen. All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. And do want to get to one super chat before we take the next call. We got Mike, 3883. Appreciate you being here, Mike. Thank you so much for that. If I'm the Big Ten, I'm first making the Wolverines give their 50-yard tickets and some to the away team all next season because they stole prime seats and tickets from real fans. Make them pay, mock them in the process. Give the 50-yard tickets and some to the away team all next season, or they could give them to charity. They could do that. They could have to buy some tickets for charity. Mike, I like your take on that one. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, what's up, man? This is Will. I'm a Michigan fan. How you doing?
Hey, Will. Thanks for calling.
Hey, I sure appreciate you taking my call. Big fan. I'm a Michigan. I live in Mississippi, but I lived in Michigan for a long time. Big Michigan fan. I know you're probably bored to death talking about this scandal, but I just wanted to give you my quick take on it to kind of go a little further in. First, I just want to say I hate it for the fans. That's kind of the thing because us fans, we just like watching the game. We like supporting the team, and it's not when this happens. It kind of tends to rub off on us. Like I had an Ohio State fan on Facebook call me a cheater. Yeah, I'm like, look, I'm a truck driver. I don't, I didn't do anything, but and even with, and I hate Michigan State. Like I hate them maybe more than Ohio State, but definitely more. At least you have to respect your enemies, but Michigan State, I just don't like them. But I even took up for Mel Tucker. I called it on Uncle Lou's show when that happened. And I took up for Mel Tucker because it just seemed fishy to me. The way the whole thing did. I felt like there was something that wasn't being said about that. Mm-hmm. And so I hate it for the fans. But as far as what's going on now, correct me if I'm wrong. I kind of do take the Steve Dace approach to this.
Okay.
When all this first came out, I thought we were toast immediately. I was like, this is over. It's done. The more I'm hearing about this, it really does seem like, yes, Michigan was involved in it to an extent, but according to the actual rule, and this could be, I've heard two different Michigan people explain it differently. So I was wondering if you knew, but from what I understand, the actual rule, as long as it's not an employee, a Michigan staffer that went to those games, the people that went to the games, they're not under NCAA jurisdiction. Now, I had another Michigan fan say that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't actually state employees. It's just either or. But from what I understand, yeah, it doesn't look good, but did they technically break a rule? Because just like Texas A&M using the NIL to create a slush fund to basically pay players $70,000 a year to play football, yeah, it doesn't look good and it's not right, but did they actually break a rule? No, and they weren't, nobody was coming after them anyway because they weren't that good regardless, So I know there's a lot more at stake with Michigan, but is that what you have gotten out of the actual rule itself, or is there a silver lining in who can go to these games and who can't as far as it breaking a rule?
So this is not what I've gotten out of it, not quite, because of this. That's the reason why they have seized computers and computer drives from these coaches, is because if this guy was just, and there would be no purpose to do this, but if he chose to hand out all these tickets to all these games and people were just going to the games that were not connected to Michigan and then just funneling back non-traceable information, then that would be different. However, as soon as you transfer the information back that can be documented, or it's digital in nature, then they are by extension the employees of Michigan, because the employee of Michigan paid these people to go to these games and received back the evidence that is needed.
It just seems like there's a lot of tape that has to hold that together. Like that, is that really like they're literally considered employees? Like if Jim Harbaugh just pays, well, because I mean, I guess you'd have to define employee. Is that actually?
You're an accessory.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, if we look at the fine print of the rule, I believe it says like employee. And now, I mean, you guilty by association, but I mean, from what I understand, it's just like if me, just say Jim Harbaugh doesn't know me from Adam, but if he just gave me a ticket, here you go see Penn State and Ohio State, and I go see it, and then I call him that night, like, man, Ohio State, Kyle McCord, he really didn't look comfortable in the pocket. I'm effectively a Michigan employee.
Well, that's not the point. They are handing over electronic digital evidence back to them. It would be like if I paid you to go rob the convenience store down the street, and in addition to that, I scoped the convenience store. You had all sorts of information from me that detailed when the manager was going to be there, where the alarm systems are.
But there's a lot of fans that would do that for free, though. Michigan, there's a lot of Michigan fans.
Yeah, but he didn't do it for free. He did it he's being paid $55,000 a year.
No, I'm talking about the people that went to these games. There are people that would do that out of charity just for the program.
Then they should just do it out of charity and not have the tickets purchased by a Michigan employee.
Well, and see, I agree with you. And
they didn't purchase the individuals in the seats did not purchase the tickets. They were purchased by a Michigan employee.
And that effectively breaks the rule, though, when they purchase the tickets.
Yes, because they are, and this is where we stand right now, we believe, have transferred video evidence back. So they by extension have been made Michigan employees by carrying out the work of a Michigan employee.
Well, and I don't have a lot of, and like I said, I don't want to look. I hate to take this approach, but I'm kind of in this position where I have to take the Denzel Washington training day approach. It's not about what you know, it's what you can prove. And I hate to take, and like I said, but am I willing? I mean, the thing is, like I said, this is a very good Michigan team, a really, really, really good Michigan team that I highly doubt needed this in the first place. Now, do I think they should go unpunished? No, of course not. But at the same time, though, I would just, there's a lot of people that are saying, just suspend it, fire who needs to be fired, suspend people. And then there are some people that are calling for the death penalty. And I just think that would be tragic considering who we've got and how hard these kids have worked.
No, there should not be a death penalty. No, there should not be a death penalty. But let's understand what a death penalty is. What to you is a death penalty?
I just go off of what happened prior with SMU when they literally took the athletic, like the program, the football program away completely.
That's not happening. That's not going to happen.
But man, but I'm going to tell you this though, Mark, I do smell some bias with the NCAA. If you've really been watching this, and I'm not saying it's not deserved, because look, Jim Harbaugh made himself a target. He snubbed his nose to NCAA, and he's made himself a target, in my opinion. But I see some bias every time something comes out with this. It is misleading. Like every time I read a headline, damning evidence of Connor Stalions on Michigan sideline, and it's a picture of him standing next to Jim Harbaugh. Okay, that's not damning evidence. He does it every Saturday. Oh my gosh, Connor Stallion used illegal tech. There was illegal technology used to film these games. Samsung Galaxy S21 is illegal technology. Like, it just seems like the wording, it seems extremely biased. And
where is it stated in any of that? Nothing that I've read says illegal electronic devices. It just says electronic devices.
No, I promise you, if you look up on, there's at least one report. It may have been ABC Sports. One of them, it said used illegal technology. I saw it a couple times because I've been scanning like every hour because I'm afraid something major is going to drop. So I've been keeping up with it. They're saying that they used illegal technology, and like I said, that's my thing. If they truly broke a rule, then they got to go down, But in my opinion, like I said, I'm not going to say that all schools break rules. I'm not going to say that because I know this is bad. But do schools do shady stuff? Every competitive program is probably flirting the shady line. It's just a matter of, we got somebody like Michigan and Jim Harbaugh and everything that's going on right now. It's going to put us in a spotlight, and, I'm not going to say that, every school does this, because I highly doubt that. But am I going to say that I believe probably at least one or two other ones? Sure, there's schools that do all kind of shady stuff. But if they did not technically break a rule, then if they found a way around it, people may not like it. But I think it's just going to be up to assumptions at the end of the day, because, I don't know.
Let me follow up on a couple of things you said, because again, based on my interpretation of the rules and what I know of the rules, I believe we have enough evidence to show that they broke the rule to some degree. Now, you're reading and interpreting the rules a little bit different than I am. But again, I believe that if a Michigan employee cannot be in a on-campus stadium of a future opponent with an electronic device, taping the games and the signals, etc., but instead a Michigan employee paid for his seats to be occupied by other people, who then took that video, that digital commodity, and they transferred it back to, well, that's serving the same purpose. Now, one thing that the rule may not, I wonder if it's been updated, because this rule was written in 1994. People weren't carrying around cell phones in 1994. So there might be an issue with the updating or lack of updating of the rule. Because in 1994, you would have to have an electronic device of some sort that was an actual camera, but you don't need that now.
And I'll tell you this much too, like, because I'm very non-biased. I'm very transparent about it. I bleed maize and blue. I love the university. But I love Jim Harbaugh. I'm gonna tell you right now, I love Jim Harbaugh. I think he's a great coach. He had some bad years, of course, but he's done a lot of good. And I like his demeanor as a person. He just takes it as it comes. He's done things that I don't like. But I will say this: if all this comes out and it turns out that he didn't know about it, which I mean, I'm sure he did. And I mean, we got to think about this too. Connor Stalions, he got paid $55,000 a year. He wasn't paying for all those tickets. So, I mean, he wasn't making that kind of money.
We don't know that. And the only reason I say is people earn money and make money all sorts of different ways.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that is true.
He may have the job at $55,000, but just because if you've read into any of this, he's a Michigan football, just crazed, obsessed fool. And this may just be what he's wanted to do. And he's got plenty of money independently from stocks or inheritance or whatever. And he doesn't care what he's making. And that's a possibility. And of course, Michigan and Michigan fans would hope that that is the outcome of this, that he paid for it. And well, he did pay for it technically, but I mean that it never did not come to him from the university.
Well, see, and I'm agreeing with that, but I think, like I said, if it comes out that if everything came out and we get hit hard, I think Harbaugh needs to be fired, Because why would you do that? Why would you put us in this position or put Michigan in that position knowing how good they are? This particular year, we are so good. And it's not because, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, we can make the argument, well, yeah, if you know the other team's play calls, that's fine. But we've got some excellent talent. And this particular year, Georgia, I mean, I'm telling you, if they didn't have Brock Bowers when they played Auburn, they would have lost that game. Now, and we could always say, well, we don't know that for sure. If you watch the whole game, I know it for sure. They would have lost without Brock Bowers. So I think that is a significant hit for them. So they're I think we could take Georgia. I do think we could take Ohio State. I think they played good Saturday, but the offense does not look elite to me. They have a couple elite players, but Connor McCord doesn't look comfortable in the pocket, in my opinion. I don't think Ryan Day has enough trust in him at this point. And I think he's just a worker. I think he'll probably be a lot better in time to come. But the way they're looking right now, it's going to take more than Marvin Harrison to beat Michigan.
We've not seen Michigan play a really good defense. Now, okay.
Well, I mean, and just to throw this in there too, we haven't. We know Michigan State is abhorrently bad right now, but that's the worst loss they've ever suffered in their stadium. And Ohio State's played them in their stadium a ton of times. They've never experienced anything like that. I mean, Michigan's good.
They have. Yes, they have. Now, technically speaking, if you take everything to the letter of the law of the exact point total, that's different than actually watching the games and seeing how badly a team has won or been beaten. And when it comes to Ohio State and Michigan State, Ohio State has annihilated that team in that stadium a number of times. And just because it wasn't 49-0, it's been all sorts of variations of that.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is a C+ Michigan team, I don't think still would have done that. I mean, and
they beat them there the last time they were there 52-12.
52-12, yeah. I mean, and that's that's a good. From what I understand, I just read that loss that was the worst one that they've ever. I guess because of the shutout involved. And like I said, I know it's not saying much because it's Michigan State, but I've been watching these guys. I watch every game, and I mean, us football guys. After a while, you kind of do have that eye test. You can kind of tell what you got, and I think we're going to be really good this year. I think this is our best chance. Period. If we don't make a national championship game this year, if we don't win it, then I don't know. I'm going to have to just start watching golf because we should have it at this point.
And you're right, Will. Michigan right now has a better offense than Ohio State, but when you talk about all the talent, I can just about guarantee that there will be more skill position players off of this Ohio State team that will be drafted than off of Michigan's team.
Well, I don't doubt that. There usually is. It's just the way they've been performing late. I've watched every game Ohio State's played this year, and they do look powerful. Don't get me wrong, but they have been sluggish, even against not top tier talent. They slept walk through the first half, stuff like that. When you get into really tough games, you can't necessarily do that. Now, Ohio State has done that and has still been fine, but I think it's just going to come down to it. I've always said this about Ryan Day. I don't like Ryan Day, but when you're playing against Ryan Day, you have to play lights out football to win. You got to play lights out. You can't make any mistakes because he will. I mean, and that's just an Ohio State thing. They'll seize upon your mistakes every time. You got to be lights out.
Why don't you like Ryan Day?
Well, I don't want to say that I don't want to be controversial because I know you're an Ohio State fan, Mark.
I don't care. No, that's why we're here. Why don't you like Ryan Day? I'm just trying to determine whether it's just simply because he's the Ohio State coach or there's something actually that you don't like about him.
To be honest to God, Mark, if I'm being honest with you as a Michigan man, and like I said, I have a lot of respect for Ohio State fans, but there is a certain sector of Ohio State fans that will cry about everything. They will, no matter what happens, they will cry. They complain. It's always something's not right. We got cheated.
You understand that Michigan, every fan base, but I think there's other people that can say it, that can attest. Ohio State's probably a little bit higher. I mean, I'm telling you, they are really a higher
bad.
Winning percentage than everybody else. Then the games that you lose, you expect more, and the games that you lose are at a higher stake than just about anybody else.
Well, and then that's fine, But I mean, they are known for being a little extra at times when it comes to losing. There's always a reason why. And I just feel like Ryan Day personifies that. Ryan Day is not a gracious loser. And I'm not saying it's a good thing to be a gracious loser, but he's not one. And I think that, and I will say this about Ryan Day too, Ryan Day's he is a phenomenal coach. I wish we had him at Michigan. But if he loses to Michigan this year, I think there's a chance he could walk away from Ohio State because the pressure is going to start mounting because Ohio State fans won't accept anything less than beating Michigan. And if he walks or goes to the NFL, which I think could happen, I don't know who they're going to get, but that could work out for us because the next coach is probably not going to be as good. I think he's a phenomenal coach, but I just don't like him because the Lou Holtz stuff, that's not the only thing. He's telling Jim Harbaugh, we're going to hang 100 on you, then you get beat. I just think he gets emotional.
Where did he say that? He didn't say that for public consumption.
No, he didn't. No, you're exactly right. He didn't say that for public. That was just but I mean, it got out, and it's just a personal thing. And I like him personally. I know about his story, and I'm really taken by it. I know about his father and everything, and I think he's a good man. I really do. I just think, he's an Ohio State guy, and he does kind of personify the portion of the Ohio State fans that don't want to believe it when they get beat. I mean, there are some now, and they're known for it. You're not one of those, and and look, Michigan's got them too, But I will dare say, Ohio State's diehard fan base is more diehard than Michigan's. I will say that. We're just all in it together. Whatever happens, we're good. Ohio State, they will eat themselves apart when they lose. Like they go and all kind of. I remember the first time that Ohio State in 2021. This personifies my notion perfectly. And then I'll go because I know you got a lot of callers. But I know in 2021 when we beat Ohio State, 11 Warriors came out with a news article the next day, and it was entitled "Top Job Candidates to Replace Ryan Day." I thought that was a little bit much, but they did it. That was a little too soon, too much. Now, how do you think that makes Ryan Day feel? Knowing he's a great coach, but just because he lost that game, now his worth goes from $1 to a nickel.
Yeah,
so that's all I'm
52
saying.
52-6 right now.
He's great. I would love to have Ryan Day.
Wait a minute. You would like to have Ryan Day above Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah. I think our success would last longer under. Look, I'm transparent. I'm a Christian man. I don't believe in lying if I can help it. I think our success would be more. It would last longer. I think with Jim Harbaugh, we have a good run, but there's also years where he's not been real good. So it just kind of. I don't believe that. When we started winning and we started getting really, really good, there were a lot of Michigan fans that drank that Kool-Aid and were like, Harbaugh for life. And I do love Jim Harbaugh, and I think he's a great coach. But do I think for certain we're going to have a smash mouth team in 5 years? No. I think it kind of can tend to go up and down with Harbaugh. I think Ryan Day is more grounded. We probably would do better in the long run with him. Don't tell anybody I said that besides your viewers. But that's all I got, man. I just wanted to holler.
That's an interesting take right there. And Will, before I let you go, I got to say I appreciate everything that you said throughout the conversation, but especially when you first came on, because I tell people this all the time. You don't need to feel bad about what you're. I understand feeling bad about what's going on with your team, whether they're losing or there's this kind of scandal, but you don't take that on personally. It's not like a character flaw. You have nothing to do with it. So for you to hear that from stupid Ohio State fans about you're a cheater, this is not a reflection on you. You have nothing to do with it. It's just like people that stick their chest out and go crazy because their team's the national champion. You had nothing to do with it. Yes, you support them. So be happy about it, celebrate, but this does not make any of us better or worse based on who we root for. This does not, make us a good character person because we root for a good team or something wrong with us because our team loses. I agree. Many of us take this way far to heart and allow people to put that on us. So, Will, we appreciate it. All right, let's keep it moving here. The voice of college football. Before we take the next call, we've got Erica. Erica, thank you so much. We appreciate you. The reason we have what we have is because rules aren't crystal clear, and there's, I believe, zero oversight of anything. That's the big issue here. Well, I don't know if the rules are or are not crystal clear. I did address something a few minutes ago that I don't know has been addressed elsewhere. Not that I'm uncovering something that's not plain to be obvious to everyone, but I don't know, since those rules were written in 1994, that they've been updated for this, that people have these now. Before, you would have to determine, okay, electronic device. Well, this person brought it, it's something else. It's not something that everybody carries in their pocket and is just part of our society and lifestyle now. So pertaining to that, the other thing to get to here is about the whole idea of the perpetrators, we would say, having to be on the field. When this first broke, there was a lot out there about the rule stating that they would have to be on the field. Obviously, that's not happened. I don't believe so. So that could get Michigan off the hook unless I'm missing something. Jeff Straley says, Michigan budgeted to go to more games this year and 8 Ohio State games. They left 2 seats empty for the Ohio State-Penn State game. Boy, that was coincidence. Those people must have been ill, so we feel bad for that. They cheated and still were cheating. It's funny because, Jeff, I got to say, I've seen you here a number of times, and I did not look in on your avatar until just now to see that, I just saw the Michigan helmet, saw the winged helmet, thought you see that and you figure Michigan fan. No, it's the exact opposite. So my apologies there. MJT, appreciate you being here. Think about last year when Michigan beat Illinois on a last-second field goal at home. That outcome affected both division races, yes, and possible rematch and championship. Was sign stealing the difference? Okay. To be technical, you're making a great point, except that affected one division race. Illinois with a win would have been the Western Division champion. Yes. 8-4. Let's see. 8-4. They went, the division champ was Purdue 6-3, and Illinois won that game head to head. So they would have been 6-3. They win the division. Okay. Yes. Illinois would have gone to the Big Ten championship game. However, Michigan would have just lost a game, but they still would have advanced to the Big Ten championship game. Even with the loss against Illinois, they then beat Ohio State, creating what would have been a tie for first place, and they won the head-to-head. So Michigan still would have gone to the Big Ten championship game with a loss to Illinois, but that would have changed the Big Ten West. But a good thought there. Very good thought. Let's keep it rolling here. We've got New York Noel checking in.
Hey, can you hear me?
We got you. What's going on today?
Hey, so I wanted to talk about this whole Michigan thing. I mean, obviously, from my name, you can tell that I'm a pretty neutral observer of all of this. I don't hate Michigan. I don't root for Michigan. I don't really care one way or another whether they win or lose. This story has upset me so much because I care about the sanctity of college football. I care about how I care about the rules, and I do not ever, ever, ever want to see vacated wins. I think that is the worst thing for college football. I don't like it when USC got their wins vacated, when Penn State got their wins vacated, when Florida State got their wins vacated, when anybody gets their wins vacated. I think it just completely nullifies what actually transpired. Like, we all have memories of these games. And I feel like I came up with a solution to this situation to allow Michigan to go forward and play games, because I think this is honestly the worst scandal in terms of rule breaking, not like any rape accusations or anything like that, just rule breaking that I've seen since 1987 at least. And I think the Big Ten needs to come out and say, hey, Michigan, before you play Purdue, you need to come out with a statement to the NCAA. Did you do this or did you not? A definitive answer, yes or no. You can itemize it, each of the things, each of the accusations of what they did or didn't do. And if they want to deny it and Michigan says, nope, this is a witch hunt, we're innocent of all of this, this is nonsense, and they want to fight, do a knockdown, drag out fight, fine. But and they get to finish the season. They get to go to the postseason. They might win a national championship. But because they would have that on paper saying, we deny all of this, if it comes out that they're liars, then the consequences are going to be absolutely dire. Now, on the flip side, if they say they did do it or they did some of it, they have to clean house. They have to absolutely take everything, the entire staff from GAs to the head coach, because you have no idea who was involved, you got to clean house for the entire coaching staff and bring in interim coaches. You could bring in, old Michigan players to come in and coach quarterbacks. Like David Cohn can coach quarterbacks, and somebody else, Desmond Howard, can coach receivers or whatever. I don't care who it is. Bring in Rex Ryan as the D coordinator, whatever. But allow these kids, because they're not the ones that are the victims in all of this are the Michigan players, the Michigan fan base. I feel terrible for them. Yep. And I don't blame them one bit for, this. They had this idea of themselves where they're like, hey, we always do the right thing. A Michigan man, we always do the right thing. They can't fathom that their team is a bunch of cheaters, or at least their coaching staff is a bunch of cheaters. And I think this coaching staff should be absolutely ashamed of themselves if they did it. Because I'm not the one conducting the investigation or anything. So, all I can go on is all the media stuff that's going on. So I say, if Michigan comes out and says they did it, clean house, and then allow them to go finish the season with the new coaching staff. Allow these kids, the opportunity to still compete. And if they decide we're not ready and we're just going to wait the 90 days that the NCAA allows, then say, okay, you're not playing any games until you do.
I love that. Of course, it's not going to fly, and nobody's going to do that because nobody's got the guts to do it. But let me ask you this. Under that format, that direction, if Michigan denies everything, they play out the season, then it's proven that they cheated. When you say that the penalties would be dire, what do you mean?
Well, treat it like an internal affairs investigation. So if you lie, your punishment is going to be way worse than if you just say, oh, okay, well, yeah, we did this and we're sorry and we're going to do this to fix it. If they just straight up deny, and this is true of any, in any circumstance, in any employment, if you just straight up say, hey, we did this, and then you're caught red-handed with proof saying that you did this, then the NCAA has the ability to say, not only did you do this, but you lied. And now that becomes a level 1 violation as opposed to whatever level 2 violations or whatever people are saying now. Honestly, I think I can't see this as any anything less than a level 1 violation. Level 1 being the most, I believe, because this is actual cheating, and to the people that say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, like it's a minuscule advantage, go play your buddy in Madden and say, okay, you can see all my plays, but I can't see yours. Just see how that goes for you. Yeah, I coached for about 10 years, and if I never even fathomed ever going to another scout. I coached at the high school level, going to another high school football game and taking my phone out and video recording the other team's signals and trying to decipher that. That is absolutely out of the question for anybody with any kind of moral compass.
Did you or the guys that you worked with try to do it during the game?
Oh, during the game is personally, I didn't, because honestly, unless they're doing something like they're running the same play over and over again, you might pick up on one or two things, like if they make it blatantly obvious. But that's just over the course of the game.
Yeah.
You might pick up on when they do this, that's a run play.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's why a lot of teams got rid of the wristbands, because you would say, okay, play number 4. And if you run play number 4 more than twice, everyone knows what's coming. So, and the thing is, the extent to how they did this, where they were videotaping multiple games, when people say, oh, well, just change your signals, it's not that simple. It's not just as simple of, hey, okay, now this means this. When you have a system of calling signals, it has to rhyme. So you have to have, you have your signals, you have backup signals, and maybe you have a third set of signals. But there's no way, once you have that code, and you can get that through, watching multiple games and seeing, okay, that means this formation, that means this, that means that. Basically, when you say, okay, just change your signals, a lot of times you're really just changing the hot coach, or you're just changing, the order in which things are put out, or you're having one coach do formation, one coach do the play call for the receivers, and one for the offensive line, and you're just flipping those things. You can't expect kids that have a week to prepare to learn an entirely new language. That's absurd. You can't just switch everything you do. And if you did that, how much time do you have to spend on other things that actually matter, other game preparation things? That's the crux of the issue, is that now they're gaining this advantage that nobody else has. And believe me, and if anybody else does do this, they should be punished the same way Michigan is. I don't care if it's my team. If Florida State is doing that, I would say Florida State deserves to, the same punishment that Michigan gets, because it's ridiculous. It is underhanded, and it's bad for the game.
Yeah, that's really good stuff there. It's just there is for your first proposal there, just a serious time crunch. So we're sitting here on Thursday night with Michigan playing Purdue, like you say, in 9 days. And let's say you go in front of Michigan tomorrow morning and make this declaration to them. Then there has to be some communication between their administration and AD and the coaching staff, Jim Harbaugh in particular, to say, hey, come clean on this. What did you guys do? Who knows if those conversations have been had at this point? And, can we fight this? What's happened here? And then there has to be all sorts of decisions made within, I guess, a day to figure out, okay, we are coming clean, and maybe the administration doesn't believe Harbaugh, or Harbaugh comes clean and they get rid of him and get rid of everyone. And then they got to figure out who's going to coach all these players. And they need to figure out that in a few days, they need to hire coaches. So it's just it's not practical. I think it's ingenious. I like your idea, but it's not practical.
If they haven't already been in these discussions, what are you doing as an athletic department? their compliance office must be on fire right now. They should be trying to figure out what they should already know exactly what they did and did not do by this point. Like, and yeah, is it a time crunch? Is it a disadvantage for these players that they might get 5 days of a coaching staff of a brand new coaching staff? Sure. But that's the cost of cheating. Like, you can't,
and a coaching staff
if you want, if you want any of these games going forward, I'm sorry.
And I'm just saying, a coaching staff. It's not like, okay, we need a wide receiver coach. It's going to take us 3 days to get one. We got one. Okay, now he's going to work with a bunch of players he's never talked to before. But it's more about the coaches also working together that have never worked together.
100%. I mean, you could just use the same playbook.
In terms of it penalizing the football program, I have no issue with it. But like you say, the penalty on the players would be severe, even in that scenario.
Well, the alternative is that the players don't even get to play. They don't get a postseason. Because I don't see how you can continue with anybody on this staff and the results of whatever games going forward would be seen as legitimate. I think that's the only way, is if you totally clean house. I mean, this is worse than the Astros. This is worse than Spygate. I mean, this is legitimate, orchestrated cheating. And it should be treated as such. And the Michigan fan base deserves better. The Michigan players deserve better. And it's all on the shoulders of Jim Harbaugh and his staff. And even if you want to say Jim Harbaugh knew nothing about it, that's textbook lack of institutional control.
Absolutely. And that's what they're going to get hit with if they can't make that connection.
Yeah. And look, if they can't get enough people to coach the team in time for Purdue, they forfeit it. You know, I mean, Purdue's not going to win that game anyway. They'd be like, okay, so, and they have 5 losses. Then they go, okay, well, hey, we don't get our 6th loss. You know, it is what it is, and you might even count that as a win. I don't know. In terms of forfeited wins, I don't know how that would work with Purdue, but that Michigan can't move forward. And honestly, the fact that we have a whole bye week to figure it out, this should happen tomorrow, where they say, hey, we need to come to a decision right now, because the only other alternative is end the season for Michigan. They're done. Because that it's even less fair to the than the Michigan players not getting to play is whatever team comes in 5th in the playoff race that don't get a playoff bid, because Michigan gets that bid through nefarious purposes. And or God forbid one of those teams loses. God forbid Michigan wins the national title and then it gets vacated. We've already seen vacated titles. 2004. What was it? USC. USC's title got vacated. Did it go to Oklahoma? No, it did not. The loser doesn't get the trophy.
No.
You know, and let's say they have a Biletnikoff candidate or a Heisman Trophy winner. What do you do with that? You know, does that kid's Heisman Trophy get taken away? You know, it doesn't go to the runner up. It didn't go to Vince Young when Reggie Bush's was taken away. Because right now he's quote unquote the Heisman favorite, which I think is kind of absurd, but yeah, it is what it is.
Also in this case, that the penalties and the transgressions are coming from a coaching staff and not from a player who specifically was involved in what those transgressions were. Like in the case of Reggie Bush, this is just a player that's on the team and benefiting from stolen signs and all that, but he's not the one at work in it. So that wouldn't even be fair to JJ McCarthy.
It wouldn't, but it would be on the table.
So
it has to be.
Yeah. So the only things, again, wrong with this is it's just not going to happen. And you know that. But in regards to an approach to it, I love it. One thing wrong in these situations is that, we don't know. We don't know, of course, right now, the investigation has not been concluded and it's not going to be concluded for a long time. So yes, you would have to go on the word of the coaching staff for Michigan, or there would be harsh penalties. But we have never seen in these circumstances anyone come clean, but we have also not seen anybody force somebody's hand like you're proposing.
Oh, it wouldn't be the Michigan coaching staff. It would have to be the administration of Michigan. They would have to do their own independent investigation through their compliance department, because there's no way any of the coaches are going to just like come clean and admit to cheating. They're gonna deny because their reputation is on the line. But it's I understand that there's a time crunch, but this is an unprecedented circumstance. Never before has there been an NCAA investigation where not only is it the school versus the NCAA, but it's the school, Michigan, versus the NCAA and at least 13 other Big Ten members. Because usually an NCAA investigation is just USC versus the NCAA, UNC versus the NCAA, Miami versus the NCAA.
Yeah.
No other schools involved. Now we have schools that are actively giving information to the NCAA and saying, yeah, this is bullshit, bull crap. I don't know if I can curse on here. I didn't mean to.
Oh, you're good. All right. New York Noel, we appreciate you being here. I'm going to move on.
I appreciate you having me.
That's an interesting proposal, and beyond that, there is no way to penalize without there being collateral damage, unfortunately. But you limited it about as much as you possibly can and provided a way to some kind of conclusion that makes sense and holds people accountable. So I enjoyed that.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
All right.
Oh, all right. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. Erica, thank you so much for another contribution. We appreciate you. Erica joins us each and every Tuesday over on the Iowa channel. We have a great discussion each and every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central on the Hawkeye Show with Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So you guys lock in on that. We've got shows all over the place, folks. So not just here on the main channel, but most of the shows are over on the team channel. So please lock in on those. And again, Erica reminding me with her comment there that we've got our Hawkeye show every Tuesday. All right. We got John on the line. John, what's going on?
Not too much. How you doing, Mark? Can you hear me all right?
Doing just fine. Appreciate you being here. Yes, we got you.
Okay, you're actually the perfect person to talk to about the point I want to make. Because you used to work for the Mouse, right? For like 10 years?
19.
19 years. Wow, that's a long time. Would you say it's ESPN might be lacking in the scruples department a little bit?
The longer I worked there, yes, and I don't want that to be an overarching statement because it's more complicated than that. But yes, the company was good to me up until the last year, and certainly there were things done that were not above board and were unscrupulous. Yes.
Okay, so this story, the Michigan sign stealing story, it broke on what was it, late Monday, early Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, that's at the start of a Newsweek cycle. Now,
late Sunday, early Monday.
Okay.
actually, because we did our Big Ten show Monday night, and that was already out.
It was already a thing. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, do you think, as someone that used to work for the Mouse, do you think that they had that was just coincidence, and that their investigation had reached a point to where, it's time to release something? Or do you think they reached some point last week and just held it for the start of a news cycle?
Oh, there's manipulation of news cycles. Absolutely. I don't think that there's as much strategy involved in it today that there was years ago, because of people having these things in their hands all the time and there being the free flow of information constantly. So it's not quite what it was, but there's still an obvious, there's more traffic at certain times of the week. So yes, that's definitely strategized. Yes.
Okay, so it's fair to assume then at this point that wasn't a kitchen sink article. They weren't throwing everything they have, and there's still more to come, say, at the start of next week's news cycle.
Yeah, so to lay all the cards out on the table, give all the information, spill all of it at once, you don't maximize your click rate, your viewership, as you do by parceling out, yes, more and more information. Correct.
Okay, so it's safe to say that there's more coming then, right? That ESPN already has it and they're just sitting on it.
That's a great question. I don't want to say that for sure, but that's certainly
plausible,
more than in the realm of possibility. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I just want everybody to think about that a little bit,
So that's a great point, although that can't be done to the level that it was done again in the past, because there's just too many people out there that have information and have platforms to share that information now. So holding information isn't as effective as it used to be.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to touch on that. And I just wanted to go back to 2 callers ago, the Michigan guy talking about Ryan Day. If Ryan Day was fired by Ohio State, he could have another $10 million a year job before he finished cleaning out his office. Yeah. And it's just as simple as that, if he wanted it. To me, the question there can the insane portion of the Ohio State fan base and athletic department, can they put enough pressure on the powers that be to make that decision? And you, as an insider, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't consider myself an insider, so I don't want to give myself more credit than.
Well, I mean, but you follow Ohio State football as close as anybody here,
Oh, from that standpoint, yeah. But again, not an insider. And let's put right and wrong aside. Let's put the truth aside. Let's talk about strategy of what is best for the conference, what they believe to be best to protect the brand and do all those things, protect revenue and all of those things. Yeah, they're in a tight spot because they have at least a handful of schools, if not 12 or 13, breathing down their necks to say, do something about this. But then they also have one of their 2 biggest brands in which they would have to confront in a harsh way. So they're in a tough spot.
I don't know. I would just say let the guy coach, because I think I'm trying to think of the term now. It's like last year, whenever Ohio State struggled against Northwestern, and who were the other lesser teams they struggled against?
Can't think of too many. Northwestern. Who else did they struggle against? There weren't many.
Well, yeah, but like I remember last year that there was like 2 or 3 games that everybody always wanted to hold against Ohio State because they struggled. And see, there's this thing that teams are doing now, and Georgia does it better than anybody, and that's why they're so good. Where whenever they have teams that, let's say you're sitting here and you're the coach and you're 30, 40 points better than the other team. Well, what makes more sense? To beat this team by 35 points, or maybe you work your team a little harder in the weight room and in conditioning during that week. And you have this kind of manufactured adversity in the game, and your players learn how to struggle and win. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand that, but boy, that's assuming that these coaches and these teams have a lot more control over these games than I would think that they do. There is an opponent on the other side, and you can't say, well, we should beat them by 50, but we're going to hit the weight tougher and really work these players the long haul, and we're going to, only beat them by 20 in the process. I don't think there's, again, that much foresight and ability to forecast the future and determine that. Plus, you get to this point in the season, there's just injury, and these practices are pretty light at this point, unless the coach is trying to make a point.
Well, I mean, this isn't a new concept. This goes back to I think Jimmy Johnson was the first one to do it when he was the coach of the Cowboys in the 90s. He would overwork his team during the season, and then during the playoffs, he would pretty much cut their workouts in half, and then these guys would just start going nuts. And whenever I watch that Georgia Ohio State game from last year, that's what I see in Ohio State, as a team that was overworked. Because let's face it, they went nuts in that Georgia game. That was the best they looked all year, easily. And I don't know, I'm just kind of throwing that out there, something for everyone to think about. Last thing I wanted to touch on, that the Knowles guy, New York City, that was an amazing call. I think he presented just a knockout argument against Michigan right now. And I just wanted to end with Michigan football. It doesn't look, there's not a knockout blow yet, but like I said, ESPN is probably doling out the information, and the knockout blow is coming next week or in the following weeks.
So for you, what's a knockout blow?
Smoking gun, something that ties Jim.
Okay.
Or at least someone, or at least an offensive or defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Tying them directly back to what's the guy's name is really odd. What is it? Connor
Stalions.
Connor Stalions. Okay. Yeah. And I did see on ESPN where there's pictures of him on the sidelines talking to both the offensive and defensive coordinator in the same games. And I mean, again, not a smoking gun, but it's awfully suspicious given all the other details. And anyway, that's all I got, man. You have a good night.
Thank you, John. All right. Let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. Let's also understand we got an Amazon link, and all of you, just about, probably 80-90% of you at some point shop on Amazon. So please use the link that we provide in the description section. You will not notice anything. Nothing. Exactly the same shopping experience. Doesn't cost you a penny. The Amazon link's right there. We've got an SEC channel. Either subscribe to that SEC channel for one of two reasons. Either you like the SEC, somebody in the SEC, or you enjoy what we do here at the Voice of College Football and you want to support us because it's all connected. So all the various channels have to succeed for all of it to succeed and for us to continue to do this. So please subscribe to the SEC channel. You can find that link in the description section of all the videos. So please subscribe to the SEC channel and the Big 12 channel as well. We've got Michael on the line. Michael, what's going on tonight?
I want to rip into some people, but I'm going to give mood today, so I'm going to be on my best behavior. But anyway, Mark, yeah, if it's true, it's true. Yeah, that's your game. But getting back to when I was talking to you about when I was going to Purdue and stuff like that, and how I could do it, I was living across the street from some practice facilities and stuff like that, so I could easily film their practices and stuff like that, and then submitted it to teams and stuff like that. But you wonder what would happen with that situation, though. Same scenario.
Generally, yeah, it's not quite as bad because, okay, let's say that yes, you would film practice and
then send it to IU or to whoever they're playing.
Yes, sorry. And so the portion of it that wouldn't be as severe is that the school itself that you're sending it to, they did not reach out to you. They did not initiate a plan to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not as severe. However, what they would have needed to do is obviously tell you, no, thank you. We don't want this. So they're still taking that to therefore cheat. So yeah, there's a violation there. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't know. Have you ever heard of a program called Huddle?
A program? You mean the Huddle tapes?
Yes.
Yes. Sure.
Okay. Like I referee in high school and stuff like that. So I'm watching like the game I got tomorrow night. I'm watching tape later tonight about the teams that I got to face for tomorrow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's to say they can't do the same thing? Take the step from there and then send it. See what I'm saying?
No.
All right, say the situation with Michigan right now. Why couldn't they get the sign from there? Same thing.
Okay. All these games are on television. There's a zillion different copies on YouTube. Yes, there are fans in the stands recording different things. All this stuff is on YouTube. Okay. Yes, that is open for the general public to access. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but the thing is, the teams are the ones that submit this, not the people on the stands. The teams are the ones that put it on there, the website. Not the fans. It's the teams that actually put it on there.
Regardless of who put it on, YouTube is a public forum that anybody can access any video they want.
But no, what's Huddle is a subscription service.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
What are the Huddle tapes that are available? As far as I know, Huddle is used to provide video of high school football players.
No, it's like remember back in the day when we had the handheld camcorders and stuff like that. We had to send the tapes to the opponent who were playing that week so they can scout and stuff like that.
Sure.
Basically the same. That's what it is.
But is that done that's not done at the collegiate level? Is it?
I'm not sure. I think they have one on. I know they do it for high school, but I'm not sure if they do it for college. But my point that I'm trying to make is, if they got it to where you can do it for college and stuff like that, what's the difference than what they doing? What's to say they can't? Because I mean, like you can go now.
The teams already have access to the all 22 tape, whether that's exchanged by the individual programs or however that's accessed. They already have anything that's on television, anything on YouTube, and then they have anything that is included in the all 22.
Yeah, but what's to say they can't focus? Because I know they got it now with how technology and video is. Because I got friends who works in the video department at Purdue. They can break down like certain camera angles and stuff like that. So what's to say they can't go there? Like, okay, say Purdue's got Nebraska this week, Saturday afternoon.
Nobody says that they can't do that. That's not against the rules.
No, I know what I'm saying.
That's not what they're doing. Oh, and if they are doing it, that's legal within the rules.
Okay. But what's to say they wasn't doing that and just doing both? I guess is what I'm asking.
That's fine that they're doing that. Anybody in the world can do that. That's fine. That's within the rules.
But what they're saying, they was actually doing it in stuff. I can't talk tongue-tied. But you see the point I'm trying to make?
Not really.
I guess
what you are talking about, Michael, is fine. It's within the rules. So anybody who wants to do that can do that.
But the point I'm trying to make is what's to say Michigan doesn't counter and say, hey, we got this from when we was watching the all 22 and stuff like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Because there is documentation and there is electronic devices and digital feeds that are being seized as evidence.
True, but what's to say before they seized them, they didn't erase even though, I know you can be the smartest person in the world and break it, but there is ways of getting rid of stuff, though.
Well, of course, we know Hillary Clinton cleaned off a server with thousands of emails. Yes,
but what's
absolutely,
to say they
we know
do that before they submitted it to the.
Why nothing happened there, I have no idea. But anyway, but they still have all these other paper trails.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Once you start a paper trail, it never ends. But I do got to ask you this, though. What is the chances? Purdue, I think, I want to get to the Purdue-Nebraska game quickly. Purdue's a 1-point underdog for Saturday, right, against Nebraska?
Yes.
How are they going to stop, what's his name? I can't pronounce his last name, the quarterback for Nebraska.
Heinrich Harbaugh?
Yeah.
How are they going to stop Heinrich Harbaugh?
Yeah, from doing like what the Syracuse quarterback did this year.
They're going to not be an atrocious defense. Anything above the atrocious defense level can stop Heinrich Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
He's not very good.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't he have like a good game Nebraska's last game, even though they lost? I think he had like 120 yards rushing or something.
No, like 70.
Or was it? Okay. Oh,
and he threw 2 picks in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I do remember. But I got to ask you this. When you talk about Michigan and Illinois, did you say Illinois beat Purdue last year?
So that's what I was trying to figure out. So Illinois or Purdue went 6-3, correct?
6-3. They went 8-4 in the conference. Yes.
So they went 6-3. Did they win the Illinois game?
Yes. It was a cold, snowy, blustery day that day over there in Champaign.
I'm not remembering that game. Okay.
Yeah.
So Purdue won the game. So Purdue would have won the Western Division even if Illinois would have beaten Michigan.
Yeah.
Because Illinois went 5-4.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Nebraska that did Purdue a favor last year by beating Iowa. Because if Iowa would have beat Nebraska, they would have gone to Indianapolis.
Yes. No, I was just remembering wrong. I knew what their records were, but I couldn't remember who won the head-to-head matchup. So that Michigan-Illinois game, as it turned out, didn't have any impact on either race. Okay.
Yep. No, I was just wondering.
No, thank you for correcting that.
Erica is right, man. You are royalty. You are a patron saint, sir.
I am just one of all of us. We're all the same.
Yeah, but shoot, without you, but with how you keep there's times I like in the chat, I'm like wanting to scream. How do you keep your patience sometimes?
I would have kept it less 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The older you get, the more patience you should be acquiring because it is a virtue. Not that there aren't times when you should blow up, and I certainly do that on here, but we're called to be patient.
Yep, that is true and stuff like that. So have you figured out your game day schedule yet for this weekend?
Not exactly. I'm not impressed with the noon set of games. Usually I have a heck of a time trying to figure out what I'm going to watch at noon because there's usually about 5 games I really want to watch. But this week is kind of weak.
Mm-hmm.
What time's the Purdue game?
3:30.
Okay. On the Big Ten Network?
FS1.
FS1, Nebraska. That's right. Yep.
Oh, and Purdue's getting ready to go 0-2 on NBC next Saturday night.
Against
Michigan is a primetime game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, speaking of primetime games, does Colorado have a shot against UCLA?
Well, sure they do.
But the question is, with UC, with Colorado kind of reeling a little bit, how do you think they'll do? Because I think UCLA, are they kind of like in the middle this year?
UCLA's biggest issue this year has been turning the ball over. Their defense is excellent, and their running game is strong. It's been simply quarterback play and turning the ball over with Dante Moore, but he's been benched, or at least they're making that decision from week to week. So I think I think they're a tough out. I think they're a really good team.
It's
Not a great team, really good team.
Yep, not bad. And I gotta say, I'm surprised you haven't got a chance to do this because usually you do breaking into conferences. But is the SEC like in the middle of the pack this year? And would the Pac-12 be the best, or would you go Big Ten as the best conference right now?
So two different ways to look at this would be that I still believe in my head that the SEC is the best conference, but based on the results on the field, the Pac-12 is the best conference. The Pac-12 has played the best. It's been the best. It has played the best against the other conferences. It's the best conference.
Okay.
If you just go by the results. Now, after that, it gets, and you know that after the season, well, we'll do one after the regular season. How about that? We'll do a full Power 5 rankings, and then of course we'll do it in the off season. But yeah, I haven't done it for a few weeks, but I had the Pac-12 at number 1. I did it after almost all the non-conference games were played. But the other 4, it's awfully close. The Big 12's played the worst. The Big 12's last. The other 3, it's pretty close.
All right, here's how I got it right now. I got the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the Pac, or I should say the little 2 now, since that's how many teams left in the Pac-12. The Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC.
You have the Big 12 ranked above the ACC and the SEC?
Not by much right now.
Okay.
Or would you flip 3 and 4 around?
I would flip the Big 12 to the bottom.
You would have the ACC higher than the Big 12?
Well, I'd have to really do a breakdown, but most likely, yes.
Based on what?
Based on winning games outside the conference.
No, I'm going right now. I'm going with. I'm not. I'm just saying right now.
You tell me who the Big 12 has defeated outside the conference that's any good. Name those teams.
Okay, Bama.
Okay.
And I guess no, I'm not saying. I'm not talking I'm not talking non-conference. I'm talking about conference right now.
Once the conferences start to play each other, once they play within their conference, every conference goes 500.
Mm-hmm. But in their way, even though they all finish 500, some of them might be a little bit better than the others, though.
Well, of
Just
course,
asking.
Of course, there are conferences that are better than other conferences, but once they play themselves, they're all winning and losing the games equally. The only way to rank the conferences is to rank them based on their competition against each other and against the group of 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, I was saying because the SEC, they don't play many G5 teams, though. It seems like they play FCS teams. So that's why
the
I have
ACC?
No, the SEC.
Yeah, the SEC, my thoughts about the SEC are more about talent than their results on the field are not good this year.
Mm-hmm.
They lost all their marquee games. But the ACC, if you would list off the good teams that the Big 12 has defeated and match that up against the ACC, off the top of my head, I'm taking the ACC.
Okay, fair point. I can go with that.
All right, Michael.
All right, I'm gonna finish the rest of my latte here from Stuck Bars, which I call Starbucks, by the way. So
very nice. Have a good time.
Cheers.
Thanks for the
All
call.
right, Mark. Thanks. See you.
All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. And we've got Uncle Rico. There we go. The All-22 does not include the play calls and signs. Yeah, I was just noting that the All-22 is part of what's available to the teams. But thank you for the clarification. Uncle Rico, appreciate you being here. Jeff coming back with this. Okay, now don't force me to read anything that I don't want to read, Jeff. Okay, Michael talks fast, but he has thoughtful points. I enjoy his calls. Thanks, Michael Hogue. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that, Michael. Appreciate that. And if everyone in the chat would like to compliment somebody else in the chat and send us a super chat with a compliment for somebody else in the chat, I am accepting of those. All right. Let's size down the calls at this point at 2 hours and 11 minutes. Let's make sure we get this done in the next 10 minutes. So we're on 3-minute calls here. Michigan Man, what's going on tonight?
What's up, man? So I'm gonna do what I've been doing. I'm only gonna speak on the facts that have been reported. There's been a lot of speculation in these calls, man.
Love it.
First of all,
okay.
So today, the NCAA went to Michigan, like I had told you. Told you that was gonna happen. Did I not?
I don't remember, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's all good. I just I know some of these things.
I don't remember everything that's said. Okay.
No, you good. You good. So they went to Michigan. They didn't interview any of the staff. It sounds like they probably spoke with the admin, is what it sounds like. Reports is Jim Harbaugh feels and the administration feels better after that meeting. That's the word. Again, those that are thinking it's all 22. No, this 100% was a scouting operation. People need to come to grips with that. Don't you agree? Like that's what happened.
As opposed to it being what?
What the last caller was trying to argue.
What the last caller was trying to argue. You mean
he was trying to argue? Could you watch? Yeah, he was trying to argue, like, could they have done it from all 22? Could they have got it from, this kind of film, that kind of film? This was 100% a scouting operation.
Yes,
and anyone that think that is still trying to argue that needs to realize that's what it was.
Yep.
All the reports that have come out today have said that there's currently no links that have been found with the coaching staff. And the original article in the Washington Post from yesterday even said that they don't believe Harbaugh is linked to it.
Yes, I read that. Yep.
So people that are coming on here saying, "Oh, I think they're going to get the smoking gun." If you read the reports, that's not what it sounds like.
Well, the only condition I made when I first came on here, I said the same exact thing that you just stated because I looked at the Washington Post stuff, but I also took that as being, to date, at this point, there have been no links to Harbaugh.
Yes, and I'm going as the evidence comes. So far,
sure. Yes.
It looks like it's not linked to Harbaugh.
Yes.
And if I'm judging by the mood of Schembechler after the day, it sounds like they feel even more strong about that. Secondly, this Connor Stalions guy is crazy. If you read this, I mean,
well, to write
he was getting player
manifesto. Good Lord.
They go deeper than that. He got over 500 player profiles from different colleges and just studied them. SAT, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He bought a house. Get this. He bought a house, Airbnb'd it, slept in his car outside of Michigan just to try to get a job. Just so he could fly to games.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I told you it was a 30 for 30. It might be a movie. It might be a movie.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
It's wacko to write a 600-page manifesto and to study all these players and come up with this scouting profile of all these players and come up with some kind of theory about if they do better on their GPAs than their SAT scores, and that says that they're hard workers. And yeah,
crazy, man. And not only that, it wasn't just a Michigan Manifesto. It was a Michigan Manifesto to become the head coach of Michigan.
Yeah.
It was a 15-year plan to become the head coach of Michigan.
Well, he blew that.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's a psycho. I do find that now the Matt Wise situation that was also reported on today.
Yeah.
People also got to realize it's not linked. They've already said it's not linked to this at all. So people that are saying that they could have got the hard drive from the Matt Wise situation, No, it's already been reported. The Freep article that people are talking about, it didn't mention that earlier today that Michigan police had already stated it's not related in any way. So that's another thing I need to clear up. Secondly, this third-party investigator thing is super interesting to me. Who hired the third-party investigator?
Yeah.
How did they even get the information?
It
wasn't from the police.
Schools.
It has to be. And also, that's another thing. A lot of insiders, a lot of people are saying that it was a Big Ten coach. They haven't said who it is that hired the PI firm. So, Mark, think about this. Does that open up other schools to hire PI firms to look into other schools? People haven't thought about that. If it was a school that did this, could you see a future where teams just start going, hey, I want to look into this school. Let's hire a PI firm. That could get messy, man.
That is going to get messy. That is going to get real messy.
Yeah, so that's going to get messy. Another article I saw said a Big Ten source said that on Sundays, coaches who played a previous opponent would meet up with other coaches to exchange signals in the Big Ten. What do you think about that? Now that's not technically illegal, I think, but
yeah,
I think it was Stuart Lorenz of 247 that spoke on that.
So, for example, based on Michigan's schedule, like Harlan Barnett, now that they've played Michigan, could meet with Ryan Day.
Yeah, exactly. So they would meet, and I'm not saying that Ryan Day, but they said that a lot of the schools within the Big Ten, this is like something they do. So you would play, for example, hypothetically, Nebraska played Michigan, right? Matt Rule would meet up with James Franklin, and they would exchange information from that game day to further help Penn State in the future. This thing's a mess, man. I'm telling you, this thing is a mess.
That's really strange that they would all cooperate because they're all going to benefit from it equally, but they're also going to get screwed equally. So I also heard, and this was from Isaiah Hole on the Michigan podcast, whatever he's on, is that Iowa, Michigan State, and somebody else, Nebraska, were the three that had no involvement in this signal exchange.
Yeah, so the lower tier schools.
Not really.
Well, you said Nebraska, Rutgers,
he said Iowa, Michigan State, and Nebraska.
Oh, I misheard what you said. Yeah, but it sounds like the upper tier for sure is doing that.
Yes.
So it's interesting. This is just so intriguing to me, man. Like I said, it's going to be a movie. It really is going to be a movie. And another thing that people are saying is going to be interesting is who the actual leak is. They're like who to leak with, because it's someone within Michigan that is leaking the information. Now people are saying it's that booster or that regent or whatever that's on the NCAA. But I read that some people who say they know who it is, they said that fact alone will shock people. So it feels like you're watching a movie, right? One of those movies, and like every 30 minutes is a twist. So, that's really all I got to say, man. We don't got a game this weekend. I ain't got much talked about. Just want to clear up some of the people that just are like assuming this, assuming that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thanks, Michigan man. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good
night. All right, Michigan man checking in. All right. There's like 5 people waiting, and I was going to get off in all right, 10 minutes. Here we go. We got Rob on the line. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, what's up?
Not too much.
So I'm going to keep it real brief because, I know you're trying to get out of here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but just a change of pace here because I think, we've gone over the Michigan thing quite a bit. How confident are you in USC versus Cal this coming week?
The point
Like,
spread is only 11, and they only beat them by a score last year. And the way USC's playing, they should win this game. It shouldn't be much of a question, but an 11-point spread, it's not a gimme.
right. I honestly, I've heard a lot of people, like a lot of USC fans, like, oh, we got this game. This is like, we're going to win this. There's no way we lose. And I'm just like, did you not watch the last two games with with USC? Like, as a Notre Dame fan, our offense has been abysmal the last couple weeks. And yeah, sure, we didn't like light them up, but I mean, we still scored when we needed to, thanks to our defense. And obviously Utah with, Bryson Barnes coming in there just looking like, Vince Young. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting watching USC going forward. Yeah, I'm also kind of nervous about Notre Dame versus Pitt because, again, I don't think Pitt's really going to score against us, but it's like our offense has been awful. And the big part of that is Notre Dame's wide receiver core has just been ravaged by injuries. Like all three of our big starters or our main starters have been dealing with injuries for much of the year. So I think this bye week came at a really good time for us. So hopefully we can get the offense back on track. We'll see. But Pitt's not going to be an easy out. And any Notre Dame fan thinking they are is deluding themselves. I mean, look at what they just did to Louisville, and we got handled by Louisville. So a little nervous about that game. It shouldn't be a nervous, like Notre Dame should handle Pitt, like up and down, no problem. But
it's a 20-point spread.
But I am, as a as a veteran Notre Dame fan, I've seen, we all know what happened last year with Marshall and Stanford. So yeah,
a 20-point spread with a 44-point total means they don't think Pitt's going to score at all.
They shouldn't really. I mean, our defense, their offense is terrible, Mark. Pitt's offense is terrible.
Yes, I know it.
And we have a good defense. So.
12 is what they're looking at. Okay.
So I don't think they're going to light us up, but I'm also just wondering how our offense is going to look. But anyways, I will let you go. I know you got other callers on. Just wanted to chime in and say, yeah, have a good one.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
See ya.
All right. Next up, we've got Harrison's on the line. Harrison, what's going on?
Good. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what punishment for this whole Michigan scandal might be. Has there been like any precedent for this at all? I can't imagine there has been. Not anything this big, but if there has, and also what your thoughts would be on the punishment for Michigan.
So the rightful punishment is to force them to vacate wins, but I don't know that that's going to happen because you're obviously cheating to win games. Therefore,
complete agreement there, but I think
I don't think it's going to come to that.
Slap on the wrist or anything, but I can't believe in that. I mean, it's been horrible for the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fine. I think it's going to be probation, meaning we're going to be overseeing things and keep you under our thumb for a few years. A lot of that, limiting campus visits for recruits and things like that. I don't think it's going to be. Maybe I'm missing something. You're right. It's unprecedented. This rule went into effect 1994. Unless somebody can find a place where this has come up before, I do not remember this ever coming up.
I think the only thing that came up was like a level 3 violation from the whole Baylor debacle. That was only one guy going to one game.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that just was talked about. Yep.
All right. I think that's all I got. One thing, though, if anyone enjoyed me talking, please send Mark a super chat to tell him how much you enjoyed me talking. All right, guys.
I appreciate that, man. Have a good night.
That's for me. Yep, you too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. That was Harrison. I believe he called for the first time. Thank you so much for that. Encouraging everyone out there to support. We got David on the line. David, what's going on?
Well, number one, I just wanted to know, I want to change my name from Dr. Buckeye to Joey Clydesdale. I wonder if that will work, Mark. I'm going to start doing covert operations, going to football games, getting, tickets. I was wondering what you think about that. It's got a nice ring to it.
I know that you always set the bar high, and especially your last call the other night that I just kicked back and took it all in, and you had the puns working left and right, and you've started on a good foot tonight.
Hey, where do you think the Stalions at? You think he's like went underground or something, Mark? You think he's in with the Henry Hill or something like that, witness protection program? Where do you think the Stallions at right now?
That is not the Stallion's style. The Stallion's style is to, spread his wings and be known and seen by everyone.
Yeah,
all the time.
I bet he's under like some type witness protection program. No, I just did that because I probably wanted to make another 90s movies reference, by the way. I hit Boogie Nights before. I figured I'd come back with that this time. But yeah, here's the bottom line, I think. I think this thing is just going to get dragged out, Mark. I think for a while. I tend to agree with you. And that's kind of what I was trying to get to the other night. Is I think this is just going to be protracted and dragged out for a fairly extended period of time. That's your thought too, still, correct?
Oh, I don't think we're going to see an end to this during the season. No.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Although I want to ask this question: could the Big Ten take action or do something before the NCAA?
Absolutely, it can.
Okay.
And a lot of people believe that Tony Petiti is of that type of mindset, which we have yet to see him rule on anything like this.
Yeah.
Not that this is common ground, but we have not seen that out of him. So we shall see. But this is going after one of your very top schools. This would be like me going after my Michigan fan base here.
Well, hey, it's your largest fan base. You got to tread lightly here, Mark. You got all these Walmart Wolverine fans coming out of the woodwork from 2 years ago. Although I get it, here's how it works, Mark. You get good for a couple of years. You get a Best Buy account. You go buy some recording equipment. All of a sudden, you win a couple of big games, and guess what? You discover you like college football. I guess that's the way it works.
It does. I'm still waiting for that big non-conference win, though. I'm still waiting for that one.
They're going to have a long wait on that one, I'm sure. Yeah, their postseason track record has been less than stellar.
What we're going to do while you're making your next comment, because I meant to do this the other day, while we're on all of us together, I am going to tweet to Connor Stalions and invite him on the show.
I'm telling you, Mark, this is a way to get the views up. This is a way to get the, subscribers up. Let's get this guy on Mark Rogers for an exclusive.
I see that he was just on X. I'm trying to shift the mind and get to the new terminology. X. He was just on there on October 23rd. He was just on there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Mark, I'm not doubting that he's in some type of witness protection or something. They're probably, they've got him hidden somewhere, I'm thinking. He's not made the TV circuit yet. Although I wonder if that's just a matter of time. I got to think it's just a matter of time, Mark. Just my thoughts.
See if anything comes of this. I don't expect anything from him, but we'll see if we can cause a little bit of a stir.
Well, I'm sure he's been advised. He probably lawyered up, Mark. I'm sure he's probably lawyered up right now. What you think?
Oh, he should be lawyered up. If he's not, but again, based on this guy's actions, have you looked at some of the stuff that he's been involved in?
Yeah, they say this guy's and by the way, from last night, I have some family members that were in the service, friends of mine that served in the military. I've got nothing against the people that have served in the military, so I want to kind of clear the air there.
Yes.
So the guy served his country, now the stuff that he may be doing afterwards here, I see the Team Up North fans, they're saying it's shady. So, you tell me.
Well, I hold the same view as I've held in that this is a despicable, horrible thing if it is in fact true. And let's say it's true, but he is acting alone on his own. And I have now contacted Mr. Connor Stalions. I guess I could have looked to see if I could have contacted him. No, there's no way to contact him through DM. So anyway, we've done that.
I want to apologize for my shirt color tonight too. I feel bad for wearing this color shirt.
Do we have blue on?
Yeah, I do.
Can't tell from here. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You look good in blue.
Thanks, buddy.
You should add a gold trim to it, possibly.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
We should have worn something scarlet and gray.
Yeah. You could match what we have in the process of developing for our new set.
There you go. I like it. I like
A
it.
lot of blue and maize and blue.
Yeah.
Back here.
Oh no, we
possibly.
don't want that. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to disgrace programs that cheat as your background here, Mark. Please.
Here's the bottom line, David.
Go ahead.
In and of itself, if this rule did not exist, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just advanced scouting. But there is a rule that exists because of other factors. We've gone into that, budgets and so forth. Therefore, there is a rule that everyone abides by, and excluding one little minor infraction by some rogue guy at Baylor that didn't have any impact or little impact, and that was dealt with. This rule has been in play for 29 years, and I've not heard of anything. I don't even hear speculation of it being brought up. It's not even like, sometimes we bring up scenarios and recruiting violations that we've not necessarily heard of, but are plausible based on the recruiting game and what we believe it to be and know it to be. But I've never heard anybody on any level ever bring up espionage of this sort in college football. So people can say all they want that this is going on all over the place and everybody's doing it. And maybe they're right. But where's the evidence, and why has this never been uncovered from anyone else?
Couple things. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was paid $55,000 by somebody a year, or $50,000 a year.
The University of Michigan.
Okay, they're paying him $50,000 a year, so he's on the payroll.
Yep.
We know how much. Believe you me, I've tried to buy college football tickets. And they're expensive. I would imagine what they are for somebody in that income bracket, trying to, pay his mortgage, pay his car payment, and buy, college football tickets. That's might be a little bit above his pay grade. I'm not, whatever, but hey, maybe he's working something on the side. I don't know. But
people make money in other ways.
Sure. Yeah.
Inheritance, stocks, whatever.
Right. Maybe he's got, he's a philanthropist. Maybe this is his side hustle. Who knows, Mark? But who am I to doubt the stallion, whoever he is. But in any case, I find that to be interesting. We know about the tickets. We know about the cost of tickets. They might want to take a look at some bank accounts, like I told you the other night, and see where that money of his is coming from. I'd be interested to see, maybe some people are footing his bills.
Well, they should be in the process of doing exactly that.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm saying that. That's why I think this thing is drawn out, Mark. This thing is going to be carrying on for a while. This thing's, is going to be going on. And I don't doubt it. But hey, they had to do something. The writing was on the wall after 2020, Mark. You were there. You were the shoulder to cry on for a certain team up north fan that I'm not gonna mention on this show, who likes to put together 15-point plans that mean absolutely nothing. Yeah, go and try and pitch that to the NCAA day. See how that gets you. That'll go over about as well as
that's not going to be mentioned here. He's a big friend of the show.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, friend of mine, good guy, great guy. We have him on here all the time. Of course, we're going to mention him.
Yeah, whenever he lets you talk, Mark, the man loves the sound of his own voice.
Well, that doesn't mean that that I agree with him all the time.
Yeah,
and certainly, he brought me on the other day for the Michigan podcast, and he immediately, boom, he went right to football. So we didn't discuss any of that. It was just he went on his rant, which he has every right to believe what he believes.
There you go.
About all of this. And then when I came on, we just talked football, which it's his show. Therefore, I'm going to abide by the direction of the conversation. So
I hear you. Well, I find this thing to be, I'm just sitting back as objective as I possibly can, watching things unfold. Will be interesting to see Mr. Harbaugh and how this whole situation, by the way, is, I don't know, is that a plausible thing to say, or I wasn't aware, is that, I don't know. How does that go over well with the NCAA? I wasn't aware. I don't know,
Yes, it's not readily accepted. No, nor should it be.
I mean, aren't they paying you millions of dollars a year to know? Especially if it's your program. I don't know, maybe. Is that not beyond the realm of normality to think that?
And there's less than 20 coaches / analysts.
Right.
There's well under 20. So it's a small
guess-
organization to keep track of for that kind of money.
And guess who's in charge of organizing that staff? I don't know. Who would that be, Mark? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our guy Jimmy.
Yeah. Dace isn't the only one that can bring the snark. I'll tell you that much. All right, Mark. As always, it's a pleasure. Hopefully, your largest fan base will chime in. We'll be interested to hear what they have to say.
Well, you are it, David. So you have put the capper on the show.
All right, my friend. Well, you have yourself a good one. It's always a pleasure to talk. Hey, you coming back Friday? I'll talk some real football with you on Friday.
We will talk some football and the Badgers that are always a difficult.
That's right.
Out.
Be an interesting one in Madtown.
I think so.
Yep. Okay. Take care, Mark.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. To the super chats, Uncle Rico. Bring the college football nerds on the show. One of them is a lawyer, and they have done a lot of content on the story. We could do that. We had them on a few weeks ago prior to all of this, of course, to talk just the football. And yes, I don't want to mess their names up. I believe Josh is the lawyer. Yes. Thank you for that, Uncle Rico. Ben says, you can't send third-party scouts, but you can hire an investigation firm. What's the difference? Lawyer up, boys. Wait a minute. Whoa. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. Okay. One is involving breaking rules. The other is finding someone who is equipped to investigate the breaking of the rules. So what am I missing here? What do you mean, what's the difference? Ben, we love you. You know that. But the last couple of conversations we've had about gray area, the gray area is about this big. It's not that big. There's a gray area. But when it comes to this, obviously, there is nothing against the NCAA guidelines and laws, bylaws, and so forth that restricts anyone from hiring an investigation firm and for those investigation firms to bring evidence to the table. Let's also understand that I'm guessing, but it's a pretty educated guess that in all the years of the NCAA and them receiving tips, typically, that's how they don't just sit in their office in Indianapolis and think, okay, let's go stir up stir up a story in Miami, and then we'll just go to campus and start asking for documentation and hard drives, and we'll find out if they're up to anything. They just no. There are tips being given all over the place. Okay. So therefore, the universities themselves, are they really delving into that? Well, maybe on a recruiting front from time to time, because they hear things in their conversations with recruits that then lead to a suspicion about another school. But I am almost positive that is not a first right there, that there were investigation firms involved in many, many times in which school or schools were suspicious of another school, typically in their own conference, that they didn't follow that trail on their own. So there's a huge difference. They're not even, when you say a difference, they're not even in the same category to one of it's is the initiation of breaking rules. The other is having an idea that rules are being broken and then taking the step to investigate them. All right. That would be the big difference. All right. We do appreciate everyone being here, and there's football being played, I believe, right now. If you're into mediocre football out of the ACC with, I believe, Virginia Tech and Syracuse. And we'll be back tomorrow, of course, here at the Voice of College Football and get you all geared up for a big Saturday. We've got the Ticket Smarter app and the ticketsmarter.com. Please check those out if you are looking for tickets to a difficult place to get in. Go to ticketsmarter.com, the TicketSmarter app. Use our promo code. Our promo code is BIG for $10 off. BIG20 for $20 off of a purchase of at least $300. Again, that is ticketsmarter.com or the TicketSmarter app, and use the Voice of College Football promo code BIG or BIG20. Think smarter, ticket smarter. The Amazon links in the description section of all the videos, the SEC channel and the Big 12 channel. Those links are down below as well. Again, you have two reasons to subscribe to the Big 12 channel or the SEC channel, or both. And that would be, number one, you like those conferences and enjoy the content. Number two would be, you know that this all ties in together and you want to help support the Voice of College Football. So even if you could care less about the Big 12 and the SEC, please subscribe. The links are in the description section of all the videos. We will see everyone back here on Friday, right here at the Voice of College Football. If you are not subscribed, please do so and hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate it. And of course, have a good night.